Hello, I'm Diana Konecki of the Konecki Group, which includes Konecki Associates and DKA Strategic Planning, as well as Konecki Art. What I'd like to discuss is some thoughts about how to think creatively. Part of the thing of thinking creatively is to be able to see what can be done and not to be discouraged. For example, when I research a topic, one thing I do is I always research a topic just enough to understand what techniques have been done, but not enough to get discouraged or not enough to get into the petty arguments or the dogmatic arguments. For example, at the University of Phoenix, one class I had on philosophy as part of my doctoral studies, I included the book on the nature of scientific revolutions by Coombs. I read the 1969 edition, and, well, the thing is, many people think science doesn't have the fights that religious organizations do. Actually, they do, because what the problem that exists in science as exists in religious organizations is many of the mentors are people who have formulated the new theories, the new procedures. However, some of them become a point where basically they don't wish to acknowledge a better theory or better procedures come out. And this is where the dogma comes in, and this is where the nature of a scientific revolution occurs. In the creative process, the scientific revolution is an important part of the process, and it's an individual decision as to how you wish to do that. Do you wish to change your theory from the scientific revolution part of the process, or do you wish to change something through a prototype in an application? I prefer changing it through a prototype in an application, which will then show the reason for change in basically the scientific process, or in basically a quiet revolution as opposed to a harsh revolutionary approach. The thing is, in studying, many people get caught on where some critics will say, well, you didn't read all the literature, or you didn't study this, or you didn't study that. Well, that's a fair question, that's a fair assessment. Yes, some things weren't studied, but my reasoning is that I prefer not to get sidetracked by hearing about what can't be done or what has been tried and failed. Fine, something has been tried and failed. Okay, well, that person, have they expressed that honestly as to what has been tried and failed? Have they discussed the steps? Have they discussed the initial conditions, the setup? There are many factors, and do all those same factors exist today? I doubt it. But the thing is, what happens though is it's good to realize that certain failures have occurred, because if no one has ever done anything or never had a setback in their life or anything, I feel that they've never really tried, and never even did. I mean, it's very easy for people to sort of ride things out and say, well, let someone else do it. Let's hope maybe we can convince someone else to do this, convince the brain to do this, convince the nerd to do this, or convince the intelligent person, suddenly make them part of our group. That's not the way how creativity is done. That's how dogma is done, but that's not how a creative person sees something, sees a problem, and sees a solution, and does it. Also, they care about the community more so than other people do, because they realize how much it can impact and how much it can help. The thing is, creativity comes in many forms. Some people express their creativity through technology, some express it through music, some express it through social interactions. Others express it through art, literature, and also in creativity. Sometimes there are two versions. Like, for example, like recently with Harper Lee's book. The first book was To Kill a Mockingbird that was published, and the newest book that came out, which was some people claim is actually the original novel, is Ghost Set a Watchman. I'm actually waiting to read Ghost Set a Watchman because based on one of the premises, it talks about some of the cultural leanings that existed about, even though someone who was creative and progressive still had the cultural background that affected them in their judgments. And that's common in many areas. You will have different types of culture, and you will have different types of backgrounds. The point is to realize what can be done, and also to live in a free society that has a constitution that respects the 5 freedoms, as well as human rights for someone to live their true gender and gender identity. And that it doesn't mean that someone living in a society is going to have everyone like you. Sometimes some people may try to give you funny faces. Some people may even try to verbally harass you, or some people may try to verbally harass you indirectly by using pronouns and speaking loudly so that you can hear them when they shouldn't in public places. But the thing is, in the creative process, it's okay to share ideas as to different approaches, but it's bad to basically attack someone for the purpose of abusing them, harassing them, breaking them down, all this other type of stuff. That's not the creative process. That's not the creative way. In the creative process, yeah, the other issue to consider though is some people get into the point of saying, well, my skill is better than your skill, and your skill isn't worth this, or my skill is worth much more than this. Really, all of our skills are worth quite a bit. It's just based on different certain situations, certain skills are required. But that doesn't mean that basically one person is deficient. It just means that basically that's not the expertise. Some people are generalists, and some people are experts. But the thing is, the arguing between social, music, artistic, technology, and other things, I'm glad to see that's coming to an end. However, in some portions of the Midwest, it needs to go a little bit farther because, for example, based on the current election season, Wisconsin's a perfect example. A few reports said Wisconsin does lead the nation in political thought because how Wisconsin thinks a lot of people in the nation think. Well, that may be true, but one negative aspect of that is the divisiveness that exists in this state is appalling. I mean, the state's motto is forward, and forward doesn't mean forward for Democrats, forward for Republicans, forward for socialists, forward for conservatives, forward for extreme religious people, forward for people who decide not to practice the faith. It means forward for everybody. But it has been subdivided, and this is a horrible thing because even with different groups, non-LGBT and LGBT, they choose to pick sides. I'm part of a group that's actually part of. I'm a moderate Republican who's LGBT and transgendered. And there are other people. There are other people who are transgendered who are Republicans as well. And what happens? We've been many different things, as well as with friends who are Democrat and liberal. But the point is, when you see the news coverage and some of the political coverage, it's a completely different picture. You see all this divisiveness. People accomplish more by working together rather than being divisive. Fine, you may not understand why someone is transgendered, or may not wish to be transgendered yourself. That's fine. Many transgender people, practically a great many, do not force their beliefs on others, but others try to force their beliefs on transgendered people. Basically, human rights are something that's an individual matter, but also does require legal protection, because some cultures will try to force what they consider their version of humanity on others, and that. In terms of divisiveness, though, in the Midwest, it needs to stop, because basically this Republican, Democrat, red, blue, us versus them, labor, management, gay, lesbian, or bi, transgendered, which some groups try to do, or basically if someone is LGBT, they have to be Democrat to get full support. No, that's not true either. The thing is, vote for the person who helps you. If someone helps you, and if someone says they're Democrat and they're not going to help you, why do you want to vote for them? Just because to say you vote a Democrat? It's a secret ballot. You have a right to vote for who you wish, but vote for people who help you, and also people that also are forward-thinking, that help others in the society as well. One issue that I do have regarding what happened with Wisconsin in recent years with the current influx of people that have migrated from Illinois. I have friends who have migrated from Illinois, and we get along well, but there's some groups that have migrated that have brought the machine politics, tried to bring the machine politics to Wisconsin, and that's something many Wisconsinites will not stand for. Yes, Kenosha is glad to be part of the metropolitan area of Chicago. However, we don't want to be known as Little Kenosha, well, Little Chicago, which includes the machine politics and that, and like the old Second City joke, where basically that's done in the 70s. Two foreign spies that land in Chicago, and they're given instructions to subvert the political process in Chicago. And one person says, well, how do we mix in? Oh, the spies were from our totalitarian country, so basically, totalitarian country only have one way to vote. So, but what the spies said, it's just like back home. Here it's they vote. They're told to vote for one party, except they call it Democrat. And what happens, that made a big impact back then. And so the thing is, when you do vote for a reason that you're voting. Don't vote for because someone else tells you to vote or something else. Vote for why do you wish to pick this candidate? What can this candidate do for you? Will you be living better 4 years later? That's a question I always tell people to ask politicians, which many presidential candidates have failed to ask since it was first asked many years ago by Ronald Reagan. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? And to me, basically, I hold every presidential candidate to that standard, and also every political party in that. And many people are starting to do that as well. But the creative process is free-flowing. Pursue ideas. Try different things. Sometimes you'll get a dead end. Sometimes you'll hit something big. And remember, it's not a race. Do what you can do when you can, and that. Also, give yourself time to enjoy the nature and the sunlight. Improve your mind, body, and spirit. Take time to sit outside and do a few things. It will help you in the long run. And it is important to not always be stuck behind a cubicle or something else. Because I do agree with Scott Adams and which is one thing I like about Dilbert too is I left basically the research cubicle in '93 and never looked back, and he left the cubicle I guess sometime in the early '90s too and never looked back, and that's important because just doing something, being stuck in a cubicle or being made to feel like a cog all day or a Borg, that's not life either. So you have a lot of potential, follow through, and remember, the local area you may live in may not be able to use the potential that you have, so basically consider other options, telecommuting, consulting, working part of the time in another part of the country or something like that. But don't just limit yourself to what the local area has to offer. The local area may offer some good living space, but to do your professional and creative things, you may have to live in a different area. But keep your mind open and keep open your mind, body, and spirit. Thank you.